So today I am in another cemetery. This time I am in Munich, Germany, and this is the first city that I'm visiting in Germany, at least the first major city that I've visited since I've been on this trip. And I'm in this cemetery, Perlacher Forest Cemetery, to visit some of the members of the legendary White Rose movement, which was probably the most famous um, and one of the most active anti-Nazi movements that was made of Germans within Nazi Germany during the 1940s. Part of the reason why I'm in Munich, Germany, is because of the role it has played in the history of Nazism. Munich was really kind of like the starting place, and then would become the capital of the Nazi political party throughout its reign in Germany, even though the actual political capital was in Berlin, like the seat of the party was here. And it's here where Adolf Hitler really kind of ascended in the ranks of Nazism, of the Nazi party. It is here where he tried to overthrow the government in the beer hall putsch. It's here where he was then arrested and he was imprisoned here and wrote his famous manifesto, Mein Kampf, or My Struggle, which really kind of lays the platform of Nazism. But to give you even more further context, so after World War I, there is the Treaty of Versailles, right? So the Treaty of Versailles punishes Germany, lays the blame of the war on Germany, and Germany is hit with reparations. Germany has to demilitarize, and really kind of um, it sends German society into this political, social, and economic tailspin. And it's in that context where you have these more radical groups that pop up. For a time, there are more Bolshevik style communists that are looking like they're going to take over this region. And then there's a blowback. You have more far right political groups that then overthrow them, and they're really kind of just duking it out in the streets. There's like summary executions, just killing on both sides in the streets of Munich. And eventually, it is the NSDAP, the National Socialist Party, that wins out, and this becomes like their city. It's in this city also that you have, and which I'll go to tomorrow, one of the first concentration camps, Dachau. It's right outside here. I'll take some videos and I'll explain that a little bit. So in a second, I'm going to read some of the publications of the White Rose when I go to the grave. But to give you a little background of like who the White Rose Society or White Rose movement was, it was mainly students at the University of Munich who, were beginning to really pick up on the full extent of some of the Nazi atrocities. They had friends that went to the Eastern Front, and they saw a lot of the executions of Jewish people in the East and other non-Aryans. And this is really happening after Stalingrad, when like the Germans are really starting to get beaten by the Soviets. And so you have like this student-led resistance movement, this clandestine group where they're publishing these anti-Nazi leaflets, and they're distributing them throughout the University of Munich. So these are very young people that, in the face of overwhelming odds, like if they were to get caught, and they do get caught, spoiler alert, they know that if they get caught, they're going to get killed. Um, Yet still, they recognize the evil of Nazism when the overwhelming majority of the country is going along with it, either because they actually do believe in it or because they're just scared of the ramifications if they do speak out against Nazism. These students mostly still take the risk. They see Nazism for what it is, as pure evil, and they try and encourage as many people to resist Nazism as much as possible. This is the plot for the White Rose. On the left, you have the father, Robert Scholl, who actually was a outspoken anti-Nazi as well. He was not executed; he lived past the war, although he did spend some time in prison for some of the things that he said publicly against Nazism. The brother Hans Scholl was a founding member of the White Rose. His little sister, Sophie Scholl, also was a member of the White Rose. Um, and then their mother, Magdalena Scholl, Christopher Probst, also a member of the White Rose, and his mother. And you have here, as you can see, people have frequent this gravesite, decorate it. There's a picture of Sophie. So I'm going to read 3 excerpts from 3 of the leaflets that the White Rose wrote and distributed. Isn't it true that every honest German is ashamed of his government these days? Who among us has any conception of the dimensions of shame that will befall us and our children when one day the veil is fallen from our eyes and the most horrible of crimes, crimes that infinitely outdistance every human measure, reach the light of day? From the second leaflet. Since the conquest of Poland, 300,000 Jews have been murdered in this country and in the most bestial way. The German people slumber on in dull, stupid sleep and encourage the fascist criminals. Each wants to be exonerated of guilt. Each one continues on his way with the most placid, calm conscience. But he cannot be exonerated. He is guilty, guilty, guilty. And from the third leaflet. Why do you allow these men who are in power to rob you step by step, openly and in secret, of one domain of your rights after another, until one day nothing at all will be left but a mechanized state system presided over by criminals and drunks? Is your spirit already so crushed by abuse that you forget it is your right, or rather your moral duty, to eliminate this system? So eventually they are going to get caught. Sophie Scholl is going to be distributing leaflets in the University of Munich, and at one point she's in like this big hall and she just throws out a bunch of leaflets that are in her backpack, and it's actually a janitor that sees her and reports her to the Gestapo. And initially she says she tries to take all of the blame, but they find some of the leaflets on her brother. They get interrogated, and eventually most of the members of the White Rose are going to be charged with treason and found guilty. Back then, this is in 1943, the execution for most Germans, or like the people that are deemed as Aryans in the 40s in Germany, is going to be execution via guillotine. And that is going to be the fate of these 3 members that are buried here of the White Rose. There's some controversy over Sophie Scholl's last words, but she's often quoted with saying the following: how can we expect righteousness to prevail when there is hardly anyone willing to give himself up individually to a righteous cause? It is such a splendid sunny day, and I have to go. But how many have to die on the battlefield in these days? How many young, promising lives? What does my death matter if by our acts thousands are warned and alerted? Among the student body, there will certainly be a revolt. So I think it's really interesting how really prophetic a lot of the things that they said in their leaflets that they distributed about how Nazism, how Nazi Germany is going to be remembered in the consciousness of world society and in Germany as well. The level of shame that generations of Germans are going to feel because of what they conducted during the Holocaust and during World War II. It's really powerful, I think.